I'm Lynne Miller from TBI Communications. We work with societies, publishers, and we also work with tech providers, and we help them in terms of launching new products and services and reaching new markets, and we develop marketing campaigns so that they can communicate really effectively with their audiences. A strong focus, though, for many of the societies that we work with is membership engagement. And so I wanted to use this opportunity today to share some of the insights in that work that we've been doing, helping them develop a strategy for developing a really active and engaged membership. Communication is a two-way street, not a one-way road. And as well as considering your own society's interests and goals, you also need to be mindful of members' causes and concerns. So this is a snapshot here of feedback that we've collected from various society members. You'll see in the 5 quotes on the screen that there's unclear about the benefits. There's a lack of clarity. So if the society disappeared tomorrow, would people notice? There's an absence of communication. They don't know what the society offers or how to get involved. And they want to see some more visible impact of the society, what it does, and a feeling of belonging. So members demand a lot more than traditional affiliation. They want engagement. They want to feel that they belong, and members that are actively involved appreciate the value they receive much, much more. So developing a good member engagement strategy will enable your society to benefit from increased participation, motivation, and support from your community. Improving engagement with your members will build an even stronger sense of community, and it will lead to higher levels of satisfaction. I've put here some quotes on the more positive side. So there's a recognition here in the first quote that you can see that it's two-way, and actually members need to put in the effort too. And it's how do you as a society generate enthusiasm and energy so that they can feel involved beyond just conferences, and create and communicate a vision so that they want to be a part of, helping them really get involved. The Global Benchmark Report on Membership Performance, which explores the results, challenges and goals of associations across the world, reports that 72% of associations don't have a structured plan or method of engagement in place. And of those associations that did have an engagement plan, 62% said that it had increased membership renewals and boosted attendance at events. And we've seen at TBI, through the approach we've taken with societies, they've seen immediate improvements in their renewal rates across the whole breadth of their membership. So I see engagement, and this is just my perspective, as an emotional attachment to a society that really motivates you to be active and energetic and an advocate. And for societies, it's about creating a long-term relationship, ensuring that you get the most value out of your members and that they get the most value out of your offerings. So connecting with them as individuals, so the more that we know about our members, we can tailor our communications accordingly. Connecting with them based on what they do. So what services do they value from us? And is it training? Is it content? Is it conferences? And then connecting with them continuously over time. So instead of one-off campaigns, it should be a very natural, continuous conversation with your members and putting them at the sort of front and foremost of those communications. And connecting with them everywhere they are. So whether that's online, offline, whether that's email, Facebook, whether that's the website, it's giving them that consistent experience and weaving a story, a brand story, a narrative that runs through all your messages. We started work with a particular society about 18 months ago, and the society is always coming up with lots of fun and creative ideas, and they always have a very well-attended conference, so they were putting a lot of effort and resource into the conference. The conference was every 2 years, but what they were finding was that membership renewals were a real challenge in that year when the conference wasn't taking place. So they came to us and said, we really want to grow the community, we want to build influence, and we want to attract more members. I'm sure that sounds very familiar to you all. So our work with them started with gathering insights from their members, so getting to know their community so the members in turn could get to know the society better. So using the research programme as a means of driving engagement. We wanted to explore what members thought of the society, what the society brand stands for, and how it was perceived. Were there problems that the society could potentially solve, and were there opportunities that the society was sort of struggling to grasp at that particular time? So we used both qualitative and quantitative methods to understand what drives membership. And people were willing to take the time to tell us their views. They wanted their voices to be heard. So it was very much like peeling back an onion, because we could see that there were different demands from different members, and we could determine that the society value proposition needed to be delivered to each particular segment to try and get the members deeply committed. And one of the key things in any sort of research program is to really leverage that user feedback. So make the most of the enthusiasm that you've generated through that insight program, and embrace the feedback, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And also bear in mind that what people say and do are completely different. So taking a very joined up approach to gathering the insights. So it's not just about surveys and discussion groups and one-on-one telephone interviews, but also look at the website analytics, purchases of your products and services, attendance at events, involvement in committees, and complete that whole picture in what's important to your members and how well your society can deliver. So gaining insight from your communities, you can find out what specifically do they need and what reputation that you already have. And you can then start to focus on what's unique and special about your society. Members typically renew because of job requirements or because of the tangible benefits the society offerings. But they also want to renew for feelings of connection and engagement. They want to feel like they're part of something larger than themselves. It's much about the heart as it is the head, and developing that emotional tie to your society, making them feel part of a network, and agreeing with society's overall mission is absolutely key. Your society logo isn't a mark or a statement. It's the set of perceptions and feelings that individuals have when they think about your particular society. So what do they think and feel about your society? You know it's an emotional connection when they see your logo or engage in any way with your society. So everything that you do impacts on how you're perceived. Membership service can influence your brand perception much more than a logo can. As your brand is held in the minds and hearts of your members, your brand is the sum of those perceptions, and it's constantly evolving based on their engagement with your different programs, products and services. And these perceptions could all be very different, but that's unlikely. There's going to be a core set of brand attributes that your members will believe as being more characteristic of your organisation than others. So a good brand fits well with its target audiences. And understanding the reality of how you're currently viewed is a first step, and it gives you that benchmark as well in how you can assess the effectiveness of your ongoing brand strategy. At the heart of a consistent and powerful brand identity, there's a brand idea, and that's also referred to as the brand essence. And that's summed up as a single word or a short phrase. So as the baby boom retires out, their traditions are also going to retire. So those who are most likely to join and advocate for your organisation in the future may have different expectations. They might want mentorship and leadership, and they might find it in social networks outside of a professional society. They're mission-driven, so explaining your mission and vision and how it involves your members can be a much more powerful way to engage with members. So communicating your value and demonstrating reason for involvement. There are 3 approaches to building a brand: what you do, how you do it, and what you believe in. And a brand is a symbol of the things that sets you apart from competitors. So what is it that you want to be recognized for? Brand is shorthand for values and benefits and unique differentiators, and they're a promise from an organization to its customers. And those promises need to be relevant, differentiated, and credible, and they also need to stretch towards sort of future agendas. The strongest brands in any sector are consistent and they're authentic, and they're reflected not just in marketing materials, but in everything that the organization does. So brand connects to our audiences both intellectually and emotionally, and they have a belief that things could be much better, or we're in this together. So developing a relationship that members find powerful and feel inspired to support. I see brand as a tool for influencing people, as marketing, if you like, for the long term. It's about developing that loyalty rather than campaigning for short-term actions. And it's an identity on which people can hang perceptions of your products and services. So at their heart, they have a simple idea. So what's the central idea that links everything that you do as a society? And what has strong appeal to your audiences and reflects what you can do better than anyone else? Your brand idea articulates the heart and soul of what you're about. It's your long-term positioning. Internally for your organisation, the brand has a very subtle but important role in motivating and affecting or facilitating change, and also keeping the organisation in focus. Externally, the brand helps us build relationships, and it becomes as much about recognition and pride in what we do. Here's an example of Wildlife Conservation Society and development of their brand idea, which is We Stand for Wildlife. It's played out across their website, their social media, and they conducted surveys, interviews, and panel discussions. And the We Stand for Wildlife emerged as the connective tissue, if you like, and became their new brand position. So everything that they do flows back to that one single idea. In our work with societies on gathering member insights, we've seen concerns expressed when communications have been much more broad brush and sporadic. And lots of information to a member doesn't actually build engagement, but finding ways to get a member to interact and use and take advantage of the value of the society offers builds that much more successful and longer-lasting relationship. So profiling your membership and developing personas are really helpful in providing a shared understanding across your organisation about who your target audience are and what their needs are and how you can communicate differently based on those different needs. So personas are user profiles developed from user engagement. So, for example, one-to-one interviews. And the profiles are based on real individuals that are representative of others in a category. In developing your member personas, consider their motivations for joining the society, their career stage, what are their goals and their challenges, what would they like to change about their profession, and what are their communication preferences, what's important to them, and add an image to each persona to bring it to life. In our work with societies building out those profiles for member categories, we might look at those members who are perhaps influential and established, those who are more successful and advancing, those that are building their reputation, and then look at the pain points and challenges that each of those have. Members sharing information about themselves to the society means that the society can develop communications that are highly personalised and targeted, and you can encourage that participation and engagement. Again, it's that two-way street. They're sharing information, you're able to give back more tailored information to them. After developing the personas, our work goes on to identify themes and value propositions tailored to those particular segments and creating a messaging framework for each audience to guide those ongoing communications. And as you learn more about your members, you can better personalise those messages to their specific needs. Some of the trends in our industry are around content marketing, so building that series of communications with your audience, providing really valuable content that will ultimately drive an outcome. Content sharing is another trend, and impact and public outreach, and also the knowledge mobilization, where we're moving knowledge into more active use, so making connections between research and policy and practice. These all provide an opportunity to engage with members and show them the value of their participation in the society and the society's contribution to the world. And that could be through prescriptive content that you provide them, so blog posts that help them develop a particular skill. It could be through thought leadership, so podcasts, or it could be impact assessments, illustrating how your society makes a difference. Communication makes all the difference, so it's key to make it really effective. Just a few stats here from a particular social media report, which really consolidates and talks more about the fact that visual content is more than 40 times more likely to get shared on social media. Think about the opportunities around visual content and video content. And interestingly, not specific to our particular sector, but marketers were selected in this study to pick out the single most important form of content, and they were picking out the kind of visual images and blogging as the top ones. Interestingly, there are so many opportunities to use social media, and things like Twitter, you can use some cool things like reveal campaign, so you could put up facts and figures about your particular society that gets interaction from your membership by clicking and revealing what the response is or what the answer is to a particular question. Here are another couple of examples that I particularly like in terms of some engagement campaigns. Worldwide Fund launched an emoji-based campaign. So basically, you donate 10p if you retweet the image, the emoji. And then LinkedIn have been running a campaign specifically in the US. They want to tell stories about real people, musicians, physics teachers, animators, and they want to sort of humanize their brand and produce emotions and encourage that sort of empathy. So in it to make magic. They're just interesting ways to get more engagement. So there are lots of societies that have lots of different engagement campaigns. We've got here the AAAA. They have Participate and Advocate page on their website. They run photo contests. The AGU, the American Geophysical Union, profiles of their members. Putting a face to the society is helpful. The British Ecological Society are using more in the way of directing members to well-being resources and stress management, providing that kind of additional resource for them. And the IASP and the American Society for Microbiology have brand champions. ESOT, the Organ Transplantation Society, they're using a lot more in terms of live video at their events. There are toolkits that you can use and develop to engage with your members. And this one I particularly like, which is IFLA, the International Federation for Library Association, where they have a global vision, but they're using toolkits to translate some of that global initiative to local activities, and they're getting members to engage and provide them with toolkits to run local activities and conferences. So engagement is the emotional fabric that really drives a society's success. So developing an engagement strategy should start with that understanding of where you are now, how you're viewed by your members, and what your unique attributes are. And to create a more distinctive way of communicating your membership offering, explore those emotional benefits of membership, what it really means in your community to be a member of your society. Society members have their own needs and their own professional contexts, and identifying and profiling those will help ensure that your communications are highly targeted and relevant to those needs. But a key thing as well is to personalise those messages, so promote that dialogue and inspire action. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lynne. That was great. Questions for Lynne? Must be some good ones coming up. Any questions out there? Must be. No, well, as always, I've got some. I guess I'm really fascinated about that. This idea, going back some years, not that many, but probably when I started the industry, everybody was talking about the primary benefit of being a member of society is often a cheap way to get to a journal. And these days, of course, more and more societies have got better ways of providing those hooks into membership in particular. And you mentioned belonging and engagement, and I had this question. It was just because in years gone past, people, of course, members of a number of societies. But how many societies do you think somebody can feel a genuine belonging to at the same time? Because obviously one person interacts with multiple societies.
So that's where I think developing that member, having a clear definition within the society of what you feel is member engagement, and coming up with that plan on how you then translate that across your communications, then gives that kind of sense of belonging. Because you're right, there are a number of different societies that a member could belong to, and some might do it for the kind of tangible benefits, but I think that more and more it's about how you articulate those intangible benefits, those things, that sense of being part of something which has a kind of a mission and an impact and a vision.
Just to develop that for a little bit further. But so back in the old days, I could easily be a member of 5 societies. But can I genuinely feel a sense of belonging to 5, or am I really only ever going to engage with one as a researcher or anybody out there now, from their point of view? I'm just thinking whether this is actually quite a significant battleground, effectively, for societies.
I guess it depends on each individual society and how they define engagement, because you might be a member of a particular society and you might just sit back and read the journal and not put your hand up for it or get involved in any sort of committees, but they might see that as being engaged. So I think it very much depends on how you as a society define what that engagement is.
Okay, thank you. Great question there in the middle. There is a microphone coming. If you could just say your affiliation, that would be wonderful. Okay,
Bernie Rickinson, IOM3. Could you explain then, if you've worked with any societies who, using the feedback that you showed here, have broken down the generic offering to actually create customized communication for specific elements, perhaps age-defined, over their range of different communication mechanisms, so that in other words, rather than taking the easy route of a straightforward generic offering across the entirety of membership, have taken the step of breaking it all down and customizing it to particular groups?
Yes, with the particular society, and I'm obviously under an NDA to mention them, but with this particular society that I referenced, that we've been working with for the past 18 months, we are working through these particular steps in terms of the insights. We took that feedback and we developed the different segments from the research, and we've been busily working with them to then define those particular segments across their member database. So we're getting into the sort of nitty-gritty of actually then profiling across their member database. And then we have taken that and then created messages for those different personas, those different segments. And by crafting messages for each of those, and we came up with 4, because it's a long tail otherwise, but we came up with 4 specific segments and then crafted messages renewal letters to begin with, to see how those would perform. And I can't divulge the actual percentage increase in renewal rate, but within year one, it was already playing out really well in terms of the impact on renewals, because we had tapped into what those particular members had said was important to them, what their needs were, and developed the messages which were then playing out in terms of the renewals. So yeah, that and it's still work in progress, but it's panning out particularly well.
Okay. Oh, another question right in the middle there. Yep.
Hi there, Neil Appleton from Elsevier. You had a lovely slide about brand somewhere in the middle, and there are 4 components of it, I think, which were credibility, relevance, I'm going to have to look at my notes, differentiation and stretch. Yeah, lovely. And I'm curious, I always think that societies have credibility down, right? But I'm curious in 2 things. One is when societies approach TBI, which of relevance, differentiation and stretch are they most focused on? And then the reciprocal of that is, which do you think they should be most focused on?
Yeah. It tends to be, as you might expect, all of them. But stretching is the most interesting one, because invariably what you find is, from the insights that you get from the research, is that there's playing out something, a particular passion or something that they really want to get from the society, which it's not currently delivering. But the society probably has that insight as well and wants to achieve that. And so stretching has been a kind of a really good one to sort of think about, in terms of, well, this is where we are now, but we can see this is what the membership are really wanting, and we feel that too. So that's where we want to get to. So that's then how we want to develop our brand idea around that particular sort of stretching idea.
I think that's the nicest of the thinking about West.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Lynne. We'll hold up any more questions for the panel discussion at the end, but thanks very much indeed again.